It's time for our morning meds.
That is it. And you know what's going on. So, morning meds today, we'll be having a conversation with Dr. Andre Haughton. And it will be in regards to the proposed new income tax threshold. Dr. Haughton is a senior lecturer in the Department of Economics at the University of the West Indies, and he's also the PNP's Shadow Cabinet Minister to Commerce, Innovation, and Technology. So, Ready My G, help me welcome Dr. Andre Haughton to the program.
Pleasant morning to you, Dr. Haughton.
Pleasant morning to you guys as well. Pleasant morning to your listeners. How are we today?
I give thanks, man. We're here, man.
Definitely. Lots of things happening on the political scene, Dr. Haughton. Your party came under heavy scrutiny for a skit that they performed, and even more so now that they're proposing that if they were to be the party voted in, they would be moving the income tax threshold from the current $1.5 to $3 million. Can you provide some context for that proposal for us?
Yeah, fundamentally, when you think about Jamaica and you think about how we have progressed as a nation, you get to realize that our middle class, which is the people who are the backbone of economies, have been dwindling. And the dwindling middle class really means that those who we want to be able to spend and afford housing and afford a decent standard of living have not been able to do so. And this is why the People's National Party has proposed that if and when we come into power, we will move the income tax threshold from 1.5 million to 3 billion, so that these people who have not been able to mortgage a house with an HT, who have not been able to send their children to school properly, who have not been able to pay for health care properly and afford other consumer durables, will be given a chance to be able to spend their money in such a way where the government does not draw any tax upfront. And this is a third world phenomenon that we look at where you charge such high tax rates that people in the country really don't get a chance to benefit from the employment and the compensation they receive. And the People's National Party is going to revise this so that Jamaican economy can function for these people.
Understood. Now, Dr. Haughton, what do you think about the narrative that is out there that this seems a bit timely, given the political climate right now? Why wasn't this proposed long ago, so on and so forth? How do you address narratives like that?
As opposition, you cannot implement policies, right? You have to make suggestions to the government, and you have to make proposals that if and when you come into power, these proposals can come into play. We, as the People's National Party, have always been the party who are more socialist oriented, meaning that we want to see a higher standard of living for a wider cross-section of people. Also, now when you talk about income, in order for us to become a financial hub, like a Panama, about the Panama Papers, they're both financial and legal hub. Cayman Islands are a big financial hub in the Caribbean. Bermuda, also a big financial hub in the Caribbean. We are competing for capital with these countries. And with the high and rising interest rate and the instability in the global capital markets, these countries have no income tax whatsoever. And if you talk to the FSC and you talk to other financial persons who understand how capital moves around the world and how people who work in these sort of industries move around the world, they are really looking for safe havens where there's less income tax and they can come and work, do their Panama Papers, do their Panama financials, whatever the case may be, and Jamaica will be able to attract more capital. So it's a good long-term move, and I believe that it is timely, because no more than ever we're seeing the effect of high rise in inflation on our income and on our ability to own property. And this is why we're seeing the mass migration of our critical personnel. I'm speaking about our nurses, which are critical for healthcare, our teachers who are critical for education, our police who are critical for security, and as well we're seeing a depletion of our public transportation system. So the four important services that a country needs for its public to have a good standard of living have been dwindling in this country, and a PNP government is going to restore this.
Now, Dr. Haughton, I appreciate all the arguments you're putting forward, but I'm no you. We've asked you here because not only as a politician but as an economist, and I've been listening to the trends in the past 3, maybe 6 months, and you're hearing that you don't want people to be spending because that's going to be driving up inflation. The more disposable income people have, it's going to drive up inflation. You want to increase bank interest rates to encourage savings. How is it that the PNP is now proposing that you're going to give people more spending power?
Economics is a tool, and much of it that we adopt from developed countries isn't really the same when it comes to our developing reality. We cannot, and let me stress this as a country, because we're used to suffering so much. We're used to burning our bellies and paying majority of our income in taxes, and the majority of these taxes go to paying off debt. We have not been able to realistically see the real economic benefits of the income that the average Jamaican receives. You look at prices and they're high and rising, and you are saying that we don't want to give people more money because we don't want them to drive up inflation even more. Now, as an economist, let me explain to you how inflation works. Inflation works as this: increase in the money supply that is greater than the increase in output goes into increased prices. So that what we want is to accompany with this increase in income an increase in output, where as a country, these additional output can absorb whatever additional income people receive. And it's fundamental because economics goes two ways. It goes both from the production side and it goes from the spending side. And the more you have to spend is the more output can be created, the more businesses receive as authentic capital that they will use to expand their businesses. And the money multiplier also will drive additional economic activity. The money is the lifeblood of the economy. And the more blood in the economy, the more vibrant it functions. And the more we create as a people. We have to get out of the scarcity mindset as a people and move into the abundance mindset. We have to get out of the mindset where a few people who want to hold us down say this and that while their income are tripling and quadrupling straight across the board. So if you believe that you want a low income and you don't want money to spend, that is fine. But the Bank of Jamaica governor is going to take 100% increase, even when they're already making 20 million. Your prime minister is going to take 200% increase, even when they're already making 200 million. And they're going to give their friends around them that increase. So I say to you this morning on the Bridge FM, that if you want to maintain a low salary so that you have a low consumption, low standard of living, and low amount of savings where you cannot afford a basic mortgage, then that is up to you. Jamaica has reduced its debt from 146% of GDP, and it's now at 70 little bit percent of GDP. We're going to bring the debt down to 60% of GDP by now and next year, where that is the international benchmark. And what does this mean? This means that additional funds are going to be in the budget. Additional funds that will no longer go towards debt repayment is going to be in the budget. Who do you think is deserving of that additional funds? Do you think we should double the politicians' pay again? Do you think we should double the pay of the leaders of the Bank of Jamaica? Do you think we should throw away this money, or do you think this money should go towards our honest nurses who have been leaving the country? Because these are the people who earn in that bracket. Our honest teachers who have been leaving this country and have been fighting for additional pay. Our honest police officers who have been harassing people on the road when they come on to mountain, see you 10 times and stop you. What you see? What can I do? We have to now begin to think about a country that is competing globally and a country that is going to provide income to its most important civil servants.
All right. Shells, as we conclude this conversation with Dr. Haughton, some key points being made, we will have to get someone else to whether endorse or rebut those points. But Shells, what would you have for Dr. Haughton this morning?
I just, thanks for the knowledge, definitely, and the clarity. Really appreciate it, Dr. Haughton. But before you go, I have one more question. There are some critics out there. How would you address the critics who seem to be a bit concerned about, reduced government revenue when it comes to income tax thresholds being raised? You have any comments for critics thinking along those lines?
When income tax threshold is raised and people get additional funds, it means that you will have more economic activity. Even though we have a 45% marginal propensity to consume, we still have a 17% savings rate across the country. And it is our savings rate as well as our domestic spending that is going to allow us to benefit from the money multiplier, and additional income will be generated in the country. Whatever policies are proposed to uplift the lives of Jamaicans, because we are predominantly slaves in our thinking, we do not see it working because we are trained in such a way to glorify suffering, and we are not trained to appreciate when the economy is developing. And when we are, listen, Jamaica has what is called the Vision 2030 goals, right? Mm-hmm. And the number one metric of measuring if a country is developed or underdeveloped is what we call their GDP per capita.
Right.
Currently, Jamaica's GDP per capita is 5,000, meaning that the average Jamaican earns and produces per annum $5,000 worth of goods. In order for us to become a developed nation, listen carefully, we have to, each individual, produce $13,000 worth of goods. And that cannot be done by withholding the lifeblood of the economy, which is money. It has to be done where money is being redistributed back in the hands of the middle class. And Jamaica is building a strong, vibrant middle class that is going to hold the country up and save us from international scrutiny. And we have studied economics in such a rigorous way so that we understand the difference between economics in developing countries and economics in developed countries. And this is what we're going to use our knowledge and our expertise to lift Jamaica out of the bowels of poverty and bring real wealth to your doorsteps.
Sounds as if the PNP has found their campaign slogan already, Dr. Haughton. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, giving us some keen insight as to the proposal that was mentioned on the platform last weekend. Thank you so much. Have yourself a wonderful day.
Respect, Dr. Haughton.
Yes, you too. Have a wonderful morning, and your listeners as well, guys.
Cheers.
Yes, thanks.